This is the video for section 1.2.1, the notion of limit. So we saw in the preview activity that we had this idea of x getting closer and closer to a value and then g of x getting closer and closer to some value and seeing what happens there. We can formalize this language using a definition. So mathematical definition of limit. Given a function f and a fixed input value x equals a and a real number L, we say that f has a limit L as x approaches a, which is written like this, provided that we can make f of x as close to L as we like by taking x sufficiently close but not equal to a. If we cannot make f of x close to a single value as x approaches a, then we say that f does not have a limit. And so this language, it feels very technical because it is. It could actually be made more technical by using what's known as the epsilon delta definition of this thing. But the idea is just what we were doing in the preview activity. As our x coordinate gets closer and closer to some specific value, what is happening to the function? Is the function approaching a specific value or is it not? And if it does approach a specific value, that value is known as the limit. And so what they have here for this example is just to remind you of what we did in the preview activity. So here's the graph of it. The limit as x approaches -1 of g of x is 3. So -1 right here, as we approach the value 3. At 0, you approach the value 4. Even though at 0, the value of the function g is 1, if you just approach it, it looks like you're tending towards the number 4. And then at 2, same thing here, it looks like you're approaching the value 1, even though the function doesn't actually exist there. And that idea is very important, that we are approaching but not equal to the value. Okay, so what we can do with this is, how do you answer the question? Well, you can use the calculator, you can look at the graph, you can look at it algebraically. And so we're just going to look at this example down here, example 1.2.4, to go through that. Okay, so what do we have here? For each of the following functions, we'd like to know whether or not the function has a limit at the stated a values. Use both numerical and algebraic approaches to investigate and, if possible, estimate and determine the value of the limit. Okay, so let's just sort of look at this first example, example A. We are looking at when a is equal to -1, we're asking the question, when x gets very close to -1, what is this function doing? And if you look at this function, you can see that when you try to plug in -1, there are no problems with this function. You're not dividing by 0, you're not taking square roots of negative numbers or anything like that. And so the limit as x approaches -1 of 4 minus x squared over x plus 2, it turns out that if you can just plug in the number and there are no problems, then you just plug it in and that turns out to be the limit. We'll see later on that this corresponds to the idea of continuity, which just means, well, essentially what it is that the limit is equal to the value sorry, let me say that again. The value of the limit of the function is equal to the value of the function itself at the point. And so we just plug this all in. 4 minus, let's see, -1 squared is +1, 4 minus 1 is 3, over -1 plus 2 is 1, 3 over 1, the answer is 3. What happens if we try to do the limit as x approaches -2 of 4 minus x squared over x plus 2? Now you see that when we plug in this x equals -2, we're dividing by 0. Now that doesn't necessarily mean that there is no limit. It just means we have to work harder because there are things that can happen that make it have a limit, and there are things that can happen that make it not have a limit. And so we're going to start with a numerical approach, then we're going to look at the algebraic approach, and then we'll look at the graph. So what do we mean by the numerical approach? Well, we're thinking about values of x that are really, really close to -2, and we want to see what happens when we plug it in. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull up Wolfram Alpha, which is a computational tool that you can find online. It's free to use for very basic things, and we're just going to type in some values and see what happens. So let's do this and this so I can see them side by side. And let's go to www.wolframalpha.com. Okay, so what are we trying to do here? We are trying to evaluate f of x when x values are close to -2. So what's a value close to -2? Let's say -2.01. So 4 minus, parentheses, -2.01 squared divided by -2.01 plus 2. And you can see that gives us a value of 4.01. And so let's see what happens if we pick a closer value. Instead of 2.01, let's go 2.001. Get 4.001. So it looks like it's getting close to number 4. What happens if we pick a value that's close but on the other side? So 1.999, 1.999, 1.999, and we see that the value that we get is 3.998, which is again really close to 4. So this gives us the intuition that this value is going to be equal to 4. So that is the numeric approach. What does that look like algebraically? Well, to do this algebraically, what we have to do is we have to think algebraically. And this is where you have to dig into your experiences. 4 minus x squared. Hopefully something inside your head is screaming at you that you've seen something that looks like this before. Because this is a difference of squares, a squared minus b squared. And so we know that that factors is 2 plus x and 2 minus x. And of course, commutative property of addition, 2 plus x is the same as x plus 2, those cancel out. And so that this limit is exactly the same as this, 2 minus x, and now we're in a situation that we were over here that we can just plug in the number, 2 minus negative 2 is equal to 4. And so that gives us this value. And so last thing we want to do is we can check this by looking at the graph. So let's look at the graph. Okay, so here's a picture of the graph, and if you look at it, as we approach the value negative 2, we get the value that's very close to 4. And in fact, when we factor this out, we got a line, and that's in fact what this line is. So we can see that our values make sense. Let's go back to the other screen real quick. So we can see that as x approaches negative 1, we have the value 3. As x approaches negative 1, we have the value 3. You can even zoom in so you can see the number here. So negative 1 goes up to 3, and we're at negative 2, it goes up to 4. So that's the first one. For the second one, what we're going to do is, you can see that when a is equal to 3, you can plug it in and there are no problems. So I'm just going to trust that you can plug it in and that you remember what sine of pi over 3 is equal to. When a is equal to 0, you can see that we're dividing by 0, and so we know something is wrong. And I'll let you go ahead and play with the calculator and try a bunch of different values. And what you should find is that as you try different values, this quantity is behaving very erratically. And it makes a lot more sense when we look at the graph. So let's do that. Okay, so here's the graph of sine of pi over x. And as you can see, as you get really, really close to 0, something crazy is happening. You can see that this vibration of the sine curve is kind of being squished. And you can zoom in as much as you want. And what you'll see is that the ups and downs just keep on happening. And so as you keep doing this, you keep zooming in, it's going up and down faster and faster and faster. And it's not approaching a single value. It's actually approaching every single value between negative 1 and 1. And remember that the condition for there to be a limit is that it approaches a value. And since this is not approaching a single value, this does not have a limit. And so when you're using your calculator and plugging in values, what you're capturing is this sort of erratic vibrating behavior as it's going faster and faster and faster as it gets closer and closer and closer to 0.